Doctors, are you exhausted, burnt out, and questioning your worth? The endless grind is draining your joy and your confidence. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you why in 2025 is the year to take back your control and start your path towards retirement. I'm Dr. Simone Ellis, and I built a multiple $1,000,000 practice, sold it, and finally reclaimed my freedom, balance, and joy. And I've helped dozens of other doctors do the same, building and selling practices and creating their dream lifestyles. And after years of burnout, I took back my time, traveled the world, and now I coach high-performing healthcare providers to achieve the life that they truly deserve. And by the end of this video, you're going to have a clear, actionable plan to make 2025 the year that you finally take control and set yourself on a path towards early retirement. Docs, you have sacrificed so much for your career, and now it's time to live a life where you're not just working hard, but you're living well. So let's dive into the strategies you need to achieve the freedom and balance you deserve. So docs, let me take you back to a moment that I realized that I needed to open my eyes. During the pandemic, I realized that despite all of my hard work and being incredibly successful, I was completely reliant on a single source of income. It was my practice. And I had invested so much into it that I didn't have financial flexibility or a peace of mind that I thought I had really earned. And guys, that realization hit me so hard, and I didn't want to be someone who was working to the old age because I hadn't planned better or I hadn't diversified my income streams. That's when I started to look for a smarter way, one that could give me control of my time and my financial freedom. And so guys, I'm going to introduce this concept called the Freedom Framework, and that's what was born. It's a guide to help doctors to break free from the grind and create a life that we truly deserve. Because let me tell you, this game plan and this framework is a game changer, like literally. And so I want to share the 5 goals that are going to make 2025 your most impactful year yet, so you can have that sense of freedom that I feel. The actionable framework is called the U method. And I want to talk about where the why comes from. The why comes from your why, and your why comes first. To break free from burnout, you have to start reconnecting with your why. Like, why are you doing all of this? What is the purpose behind your hard work? And during the pandemic, I got a chance to visit Kenya, and I saw people walking on the highway barefoot get to work. And meanwhile, we were over here talking about a $1,500 stimulus check, and that wasn't enough, right? So it really made me start to question, what am I really working hard for? You're in a third world country where they're barely getting by, and $1,500 would have lasted him, or the gentleman that I spoke to said, 5 years. And that's crazy because I'm asking, like, what am I really working hard for, right? And now I want to ask you the same thing. Sometimes we're just moving so fast, and let's be honest, we don't even ask ourselves that question. And when I finally slowed down and I took a hard look at my core values, which I actually had to establish first, like I had to understand what my core values were, then I could actually see what aligned with my life and what mattered the most. And so I want you to take a moment right now and write down your core values and your purpose. And if your daily grind does not align with your why, it might be time to make some changes. Because life isn't just about the money, it is also about the meaning. This is one of the foundational exercises I do in my coaching programs, where I help doctors like yourself get clarity on the why and the structure of their life around it. And so through one-on-one coaching and group coaching, we create personalized strategies to help people achieve financial freedom and set boundaries that design to have their life of balance and joy. And if you're interested, you can visit my website at drsimonellis.com to find out more about our coaching programs. When I did that exercise, I realized that I was working endlessly, but for what? And I had to ask myself again, what am I really working for? And now I'm asking you to do the same thing. And if your daily grind, again, does not align with your why, you really have to start thinking about how short life is, and it might be time to take a change. Once I understood my why, I realized something critical. Knowing my purpose was not enough if I wasn't going to protect it with my time and my energy. And that's where boundaries come in. And that's where the O comes in the U framework. Now that you know your why, here's one thing. It's one thing to know your why, and it's another thing to truly own it. And that brings us to the own your boundaries. Y'all, I learned this the hard way. I remember my father, unfortunately, was dying in the hospital, and I was standing in my office. I looked completely drained, and a patient looked at me and said, "Are you okay?" And I forced a smile and I said, "Yeah, my dad's in the hospital dying, but I need to be here." Because I felt obligated to run my business, to care for my patients, and support my team. But deep down, I knew that I should have been spending my last moments, last hours with my dad, and saying goodbye. I did get the opportunity to see him transition, but the point I'm trying to say is that I did not own my boundaries back then. And I thought that sacrificing my needs made me a better doctor. But instead, it made me exhausted, it made me overwhelmed and filled with regret. So there are 2 things that you can do to set boundaries today. And the first one I want you to do is time block for yourself. You guys have to schedule breaks, meals, and personal times in your calendar the same way we schedule our patient appointments. And I want you to treat these blocks as non-negotiables because studies have shown that taking regular breaks improves productivity up to 15% and reduces stress significantly. So you know how we never make it to the bathroom, or we never take lunch, or never drink any water? I know the cup is so raggedy, but it's like one of my favorites. But taking a break is so important, and I want you guys to think about how often are you taking breaks so that you can provide the best patient care. The next one is use this 3-second pause before saying yes. And before you agree to an extra shift or a meeting or another obligation, I want you to pause for 3 seconds and ask yourself, does this align with my core values and my well-being? And if the answer is no, well, politely decline or suggest an alternative. This is powerful because taking 3 seconds allows you to catch yourself and not just getting into the habit of just saying yes, right? And you can do that also in your personal life. Like, let me take 3 seconds. That's a no. I want you to check out a book called Boundaries: When to Say Yes and How to Say No and Take Control of Your Life by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend, because it's an excellent resource of learning how to set healthy boundaries without guilt. Dax, your why is meaningless if you do not have boundaries to protect it. And if you cannot take care of yourself, how are you taking care of your patients? I want you to think about that when you're reflecting that we give so much to everyone else, but if we're not taking care of ourselves, we are no good to anyone. All right, so in our framework, we have the why, which is actually your why, and the O, which is owning your boundaries and protecting it. But what's the point of it all if you're not enjoying life? And that's where the final step comes in. Finding joy and balance in every single day. I want you to uplift your daily life. This means creating a life where you're a priority, not your career, not your patients, not even the family roles as spouse or parent, but you. One of the biggest things that I see my clients struggling is having a life outside of their careers, because we've poured so much time into becoming doctors and parents or partners that they've lost themselves in the process. But here's the truth. You deserve to be a part of that equation too. Your joy, your hobbies, and your passions matter. I know I struggle with this personally. There was a time where I felt like every day was just a cycle of seeing patients, managing staff, and going home exhausted. I didn't even have hobbies. I didn't even know what hobbies were. I didn't even have anything to look forward to, and my life just felt like it was on autopilot. And the stress was just relentless, and I was losing parts of myself every single year. But then I made a change because I started playing tennis, which I'm super excited about. I started baking and working out in the mornings because these activities gave me a reason to wake up and excited, and they brought it back to me. And it wasn't that like waking up and being in those roles didn't matter, but I think that it gave me my sparkle back. And I want my doctors to get that back too, because so much we have given to everyone else, we forget about us in the process. So 2 things that you can do to uplift your life today. You can schedule me time in the calendar. And if you don't have a calendar, that's a big deal. We'll talk about that in some other videos. But just like we schedule patient appointments, guys, I want you to block out time each week for something that you love. And it could be a hobby or exercising or some form of creative outlet, but you have to make it a non-negotiable, because even 30 minutes twice a week makes a big difference. And the second thing I want you to do is revisit an old passion or try something new. I want you to think back to when you used to love doing something but stopped because we got into dental school or we got into medical school or we got into the thrust of having a career. Was it painting? Was it hiking? Was it reading for pleasure? And if nothing comes to mind, I want you to pick a new activity that excites you. Because studies show that people who engage in hobbies are 34% less stressed and experience great life satisfaction. I'll take that 34%. Docs, I remember when my nights were so intense, I was so stressed out that I would wake up from night terrors, and the weight of the practice and the responsibilities were suffocating. And you know what? Some of the people I was sacrificing my health for, they never even stayed in my practice. They weren't even worth the price that I was paying. You know, it took me time to realize that I mattered too. My joy mattered, my health mattered, my passions weren't extras, they were essential in my well-being. So doctors, I wanna ask you a serious question. When is the last time you did something for you? If your life is all work and no joy, you're not thriving, you're just surviving. And I really wanna change that. If this resonates with you and you're ready to overcome burnout and reclaim your life, join my free webinar, From Burnout to Balance, Reclaiming Your Life and Time as a Doctor. The link is in the description, and let's start creating freedom you deserve. As I reflect, I think about my father. He was a postal worker and he worked his entire life planning and taking care of himself after retirement. Yeah, my dad died, unfortunately, a year later, and his company replaced him instantly. Life will not wait. Your body will keep the score, and I want you to stop hurting and start healing. Let's do this the healthy way. So if you've enjoyed this video and you want more videos like this, I want you to watch my next video on 5 strategic goals every doctor must set for 2025 to get actionable steps in creating a life and freedom you deserve. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you never miss any strategy for reclaiming your time and your health and your future. I'll see you guys in the next video.